time for us to listen to someone whom I believe lives by all these 10 points. Today, it will be a privilege to present in front of you a person who's a living example already of each one of these points. A person who has abundance of success and yet believes he is only beginning. A person who believes in nurturing people and giving them opportunities. A person who believes in setting new benchmarks, even if the existing benchmarks are high benchmark for others. A person who's full of life, very driven, very humorous, and very kind. Please welcome onto the stage our chief guest for the day, Shri Sanjay Singhal.
How do you follow that? Inspiring. And my first exposure firsthand to KMM, and all I can say is I'm delighted I'm here. You've said some very kind words about me, and you've given me the stage for about half an hour. So what I thought, all I can do is share my life with you. There was a time when I was a child. There was a time when I had children. And now I have a lovely little granddaughter. And so having been through those phases of life myself and taken my children through those phases of life, particularly growing up, some profound lessons were taught. And what I could do best was probably share them with you. So I'd like to keep it interactive if at all possible. So let me begin. Naren has given you a bit of background. I'm in business. My father was in business. And we've been reasonably successful in what we're doing, but we can always do a lot better. And but I have been driven by what I call sanskar, जो माताजी, पिताजी, दादाजी, दादी जी ने हमें imbibe किए. Sanskar, there is no English translation for the word sanskar. Do you understand that? And sanskar, we tend to use the word values, but it's a very poor translation. And the other one which you don't really have a very appropriate translation for is ashirwad. We say blessings, but it is not quite the same as ashirwad, जो बड़ों का मिलता है. So I've been blessed. बड़ों का आशीर्वाद भी था और बड़ों ने संस्कार भी दिए. तो कुछ अपने जीवन की कहानियां हैं, वो आप लोगों के साथ शेयर करूं. But before I do that, I'm in Pune, and I just like a show of hands. Those of you who went to Wadia College, how many Wadians here? A fair few. How many from Ferguson College? About an equal number, I'd say. Now, you Wadians, I will explain later. I'm not very happy with the Wadians because I'm a Fergusonian. In my time, there was a big rivalry between the two colleges. But the next story, the first story that I want to tell you, really relates to the rivalry between the two colleges. A lot of what happened in my life, which changed my life very profoundly, happened here in Pune. And Naren was talking about chasing marks versus chasing understanding. In our third year BSc, one particular subject of physical geology, I got very, very poor marks. Now, physical geology was a subject which I was a master of. In my class with my teachers, everybody knew if there is an authority on physical geology, it is Sanjay. Go talk to him. And when the marks came, I had something like 40% marks. Now, what had happened in that paper But there was one question relating to drift of continents. I studied geology, so drift of continents, how the continents have drifted apart and continue to do so. And this is 1972. I was up to date with the latest research on the subject. Not what was in our textbooks, but what was the latest research coming out of America. People had discovered at that time that there was a big mountain range in the middle of the Atlantic, which is called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And I knew all of that, and I put it in my paper. And when the results came, I had only 40% marks. The director of examination was a lady professor from Ferguson. So I went to her, Mrs. Oak, and I said, "Ma'am, how come I only have such few marks in this exam?" And Mrs. Oak had a wonderful way with students. You can never forget her smile. God bless her soul, she passed away a few years ago. She smiled at me with that inimitable smile of hers, and she said, "I know you will be disappointed." This paper was corrected by, and she gave a name of a professor from Wadia College. And she said, "The mistake you've made is you have not given the old evidence, which has now been discredited. The old evidence had been discredited by 1972, which is in your textbooks. And that person didn't know what you have written. But Sanjay, I have taken a copy of your answer book and I'll use it for my class notes next year." So, if I were chasing marks, which is what I thought I was doing, I was chasing marks. I wanted to get good marks in that paper. I didn't. But at the same time, I think I was chasing knowledge. Now, what is it that gets a third-year BSc student interested in the latest research on a subject? Is another story that happened to me in Pune. I was expecting him to be here, but he's not. This is my professor. I came to Pune from having studied up to SY-BSc in Udaipur. And in Udaipur, we had student unions and exams were disrupted and it was really, really bad. And it was just impossible to go through college. A, you didn't feel safe, and B, exams which should finish in March sometimes went on to August, sometimes even into September. Those were the days when, in the 70s, life was different. Student life was different. So I said to my dad, "Look, going through college at Udaipur is hard." So Dad said, "Okay, you can go somewhere else." And at that time, one of my father's friends was the Vice Chancellor here in Pune. So he called him up and he said, "Bhai, Sanjay ko bhejna hai. Do you think you can take him?" So Dr. Mahajani, who was the Vice Chancellor at that time, said, "Bhai, from Udaipur," and he had been Vice Chancellor at Udaipur University. So he said, he'll have to repeat second year because of the equivalence of education. So anyway, I came to Pune and I started with second year. Now, having studied the subject in Udaipur, you were repeating a lot of the things. So some of the stuff was boring. Pad chuke ho, dobara kya karna class mein. The culture was new. I hadn't realized that in Ferguson College, there was no life if you could not understand and speak Marathi. It was a major challenge. The lab peon wouldn't give you the time of day if you couldn't ask him in, and without the lab peon, you could do none of your practicals properly. So I was living away from home for the first time. Lots of things like that were ongoing. So I wasn't as interested in some of the second year subjects, particularly in geology, as you would expect a student to be. So one day, Mr. Chakranarayan, who was then a lecturer, he retired as the vice principal of Ferguson, he called me. And he sat me down in his office, and one-to-one, he gave me a right royal firing. "You are very arrogant," he said. "You don't pay attention in class, you don't come in class. बहुत डांट पड़ी, बहुत डांट पड़ी. और डांट का theme था, you are very arrogant." I mean, this is a story which ABC, Ashok Bhaskar Rao Chakranarayan. So he used to be known as ABC. This is a story which ABC narrated to me some years later. So it is from his perspective, because I had completely forgotten. ये 10-15 मिनट तक डांट पड़ी, सुनते रहे. फिर जब खत्म होने लगी तो अब एरोगेंस पे डांट पड़ रही थी. हाँ, so my last sentence was, "Is that all, sir?" And he rather angrily said, "Yes." I went away. I don't know what his take on it was, but something flicked a switch in my head. And from then till today, a unique guru-shishya friendship has developed between the two of us. He gave me the one most important gyan that has helped me through life. It was that you don't have to have the knowledge of the world in your head. You don't have to have that in your head. The one thing you need to know is where to find the knowledge when you need it. Now, this sentence has got two important parts. To know when you need the knowledge. I don't know this, so I need this knowledge now. And the second is, where do you go to find it? Now, remember, this is the 70s. It is not the days of Google God. You know, with Google God, we believe, which is quite wrong actually, we believe that knowledge is at our fingertips. It generally isn't. When you want to find serious knowledge, you've got to do some serious reading yourself. So he taught me कि भाई ज्ञान न हो, लेकिन ज्ञान को ढूंढना आना चाहिए. And from then on, we got to work together. And I published a paper, rather Professor Chakranarayan published a paper which was co-authored by me in a peer-reviewed journal in my TY BSc. Now, how many BSc students get to get their names on an academic paper? But that is where that partnership sort of developed, and he's still a very, very dear friend, guide, and philosopher. And it changed me profoundly. So I think it was what Professor Chakranarayan did which led me to my interest in searching continental drift, which led me to, in 1974, being able to quote in an exam paper research which was being done in 1972, which led to this Wadia professor not knowing what she was correcting and led me to getting 40% marks. But hey, I don't mind those 40% marks. Because ultimately those marks, that mark sheet, that degree is only a passport to your first job. Once you've got your first job, it's what you do with it is what takes you forward in life. कोई मतलब नहीं है डिग्री का. मैंने जियोलॉजी पढ़ी, आज मैं इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स कंपनी चलाता हूँ. जो मैंने पढ़ा और जो मैं कर रहा हूँ जीवन में कोई रिश्ता नहीं है. आप अपने आप से पूछिए, how many of you who studied engineering are actually doing engineering jobs, or you know, हिंदुस्तान में अच्छा डॉक्टर जो है वो अल्टीमेटली हॉस्पिटल का एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर बन जाता है. He stops doing medicine and starts doing management. So very few of us really get that opportunity, and the only reason we can adapt is, first and foremost, there is an abundance in our own head. I can learn anything. Why should I be restricted to what I studied? My career started in chemical technology. I learned chemistry. I learned chemical engineering. I learned electrical engineering. I learned electronics. I learned software. All because Chakranarayan Sahib said, ज्ञान ढूंढना आना चाहिए, ज्ञान होना जरूरी नहीं. And that is what has led me through life, and it's a very, very powerful message for young people to understand. Unfortunately, our education system compartmentalizes people. I'm a humanities graduate. That seems like a science problem. I don't want to touch it. We hire 30 to 40 graduate engineers every year, and many of them say, मैं mechanical engineer हूँ, मैं ये electrical वाला काम नहीं कर सकता. This is how we are compartmentalizing lives, which is not a good thing to do. Because the human mind will understand everything. There is, भगवान ने हमारी खोपड़ी में डिपार्टमेंट नहीं बनाया, ये मैकेनिकल का है, ये हम बना लेते हैं ये. These are curtains which we put, these are blinkers which we apply, and we apply them to our children. The wider we expose them, the better it gets. Thankfully, I was lucky. One of the things you can't do is choose your parents, but they chose well. The way I was brought up, we heard Naren talk about responsibility. हमें हमारे जीवन में बहुत यंग उम्र पे जिम्मेदारी दी जाती थी. Now I see a lot of families and friends and so on. They are immensely protective of their children. अरे साइकिल ध्यान से चलाना, गिर जाओगे. I had 5 fractures. I was allowed to break bones because I was doing weird things with myself. The joke in the house used to be, उदयपुर में एक डॉक्टर बजाज ऑर्थोपेडिक के हुआ करते थे कि तुम्हारा घर उनके पास बनवा देते हैं, हड्डी तोड़ते रहो, वो ठीक करते रहेंगे. But as a child, when you don't know that if you're running under a barbed wire, you could cut your head. You discover it with experience, and nobody stopped us from taking those, what today are considered, how can you let your child, do that? But that's a very quick way to learn. And you then begin to take responsibility for what you do. At the age of 10, my chacha was getting married. And the barat went from Udaipur to Lucknow. So we must have been 40, 50 people. There were 2-3 train coaches which we had taken. At the age of 10, my father said to me, जितने भी बारात के अंदर लोग जा रहे हैं, उनके सामान की गिनती करके उनकी बोगी में पहुंचाना तुम्हारी जिम्मेदारी है. I was told this as a 10-year-old. I'm sure my dad didn't know, definitely knew that this is a responsibility beyond me. So he must have been keeping in the background the sight that things were going all right. But by God, I took it seriously. So every time, every bag which came off the car to be put into the train, I was counting. And making sure then once the train started, going to every compartment and saying, is your saman here? Is anything missing? I learned that at the age 10. And that responsibility gene then just lives in you. My son was 17. We were working in England at that time. And I needed to buy a new car. So I said to him, you go buy the car for me. You choose the, लड़कों को होता है ना, शौक होता है गाड़ियों के बारे में पढ़ने का, जानने का, features, this, that and the other, they don't know the lot. उसका इंटरेस्ट था, मैंने कहा ये जाकर गाड़ी खरीद ले यार. आपके लिए? हाँ, मेरे लिए गाड़ी. मैं चूज करूँ? हाँ, तू जाके चूज कर. So he went and chose the car. I said, अब negotiate कर. Because you can negotiate prices for cars in the UK. Negotiate कर, go strike a deal. All I was doing was just training him in an essential life skill of how to make the right choices for an important capital asset. He's now doing the same thing with machines in our plant, but 17 years ago, he had practice at it. We can be protective of our children, and we should be. We should take responsibility for our children. We should not be exposing them to undue risks. But if they're not taking risks, and if we are preventing them from taking reasonable risks, we are keeping from our children important life experiences. One of the great things that happened when I was growing up was I was made to perform. Poetry याद की, कोई भी घर में मेहमान आएगा, 2-year, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, poetry सुनाओ. सुनानी पड़ती थी. Whether you liked it or not, सुनानी पड़ती थी. उस जमाने में क्रिकेट की सिर्फ रेडियो पे कमेंट्री आती थी. There was no television. और पियर्सन सुरीटा, Maharaj Kumar, Vijayanagaram, Vijay Merchant, these used to be, Bobby Talyar Khan, these used to be the radio commentators. I'm sure some of you my age would know these names, but a lot of you may not, on radio. And somehow I had developed the ability to mime and mimic each of these commentators. So commentary सुनाओ, guest है चलो commentary सुनाओ. As a 5-year-old you're standing there and but it turned into a life skill. I can confidently stand in front of hundreds of people and talk. I didn't know it at that time. I can see how those little experiences sort of, helped me and have helped me through life. Being able to stand up and talk in public is an important life skill. As important as being able to go up and down a ladder. But how many of us would let our 11-year-old go up and down a ladder today? Arey gir jayega. Children need to have those experiences because you never know when you need to go up and down a ladder. You never know when you may have to stand up and talk in public. But probably the most important life skill I was given at a very young age was the reading habit. The reading habit is what enabled what Chakranarayan Sahib taught me. So from a young age, books were a part of our life. And they're so today. Even today, I spend about 20 hours a week reading. Because the world's knowledge is encapsulated in words, in language. And you have to find that. And that's the only medium by which you get that knowledge into you. And the reading habit is critical. So when our children were growing up, Nandita and me, we decided that we will play a little trick on them. When the children were naughty, तो होता ना कि कहेंगे chocolate नहीं देंगे तुमको. Or when the children were good, chocolate देंगे. We just said, if you're naughty, we'll not read to you. If you're good, we'll read to you, or we'll give you a book, or we'll buy you a book. So they grew up thinking that the most desirable object in their life was a book. And thankfully, all three of my children have a terrific reading habit. So it's because we genuinely believe it is an important, critically important life skill. And of course, the older you get, the faster you can read. The faster you can read, I mean, it's not about how fast you read, it's how fast you understand. So how fast you read, and the faster you read, the more you can understand. The more you can understand, the faster you can read. So it then becomes a self-perpetuating virtue. But if you can start your children at an early age in being able to read, and we use just this simple little trick, and we're experiencing that on our granddaughter today. All 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds will tear a magazine, will tear a newspaper. Our kids have done that just once in their life. Because that's an important life experience. What does it feel like to crush and crumple a newspaper? All children do that. But then that respect develops by itself. I have a book in my hand, this is something valuable for me. So they don't tear that book anymore. And I can leave any books with my granddaughter around. She will never mutilate a book. She's not yet 3. She will not mutilate a book. She knows she can use a newspaper to stop things from spilling on the floor if she's painting or using glue or using her sketch pens, but never a book. So one of the things my library lacks are books which have been mutilated or written on by little kids. One of the things I miss, but that's life. We were in Pune, college students. A cousin of mine, Rajiv, and a friend of ours, Sharad. Quality hai na East Street pe? Everybody knows Quality restaurant. They used to have a softie stand. So, as college students, Softy, we said, यार इसका O और F चुराएंगे. It was neatly written in plastic. What do you do with an O and an F? Well, it was meant to be an F and an O, and we would put it on Sharad's scooter. So we went to, शाम को सॉफ्टी खाने जाते थे. धीरे धीरे वो प्लास्टिक को लूज किया. एक दिन ओ लेके आए. फिर 2-3 दिन और गए उधर, एफ को लूज किया. एक रोज शाम को एफ को भी लेके आ गए. अब मिशन अकम्प्लिश्ड, यू नो, नाउ वी हैव द ओ एंड द एफ, सॉरी, द एफ एंड द ओ, दोनों है. बट एज वी कम होम, इट इज अबाउट 10:30 at night. Rajiv's father, Bauji we called him, he was sleeping, summertime, he was sleeping in the veranda. He heard us come in. So Bauji said, "आ गए तुम लोग?" जी बाबूजी. वो F लेके आए हो तुम. Now, काटो तो खून नहीं बोलते ना. Completely stunned. तुम लोग F लेके आए हो, कल ले जाके दे देना. And he goes back to sleep. Now you can imagine Rajiv and me, that Bauji is Rajiv's father. You know, क्या हो गया? That bloody so-and-so from quality must have called Bauji, because the owner of quality knew Bauji. He must have called him. अब क्या करेंगे? Anyway, देखते हैं कल सुबह क्या होता है. तो 10:30 बजे से 12:30 बजे तक तो इंटरनली यही डिबेट होती रही कि यार ये बाबूजी को कैसे पता पड़ गया और क्या हो गया. Next morning we come for breakfast and we say do pranam to Bauji, and Bauji से वो बेटा जो F लेके आए थे आज ले जाके दे देना. तो Rajiv sort of says, जी बाबूजी शांताराम के साथ भेज देंगे. शांताराम was the driver. शांताराम के साथ भेज देंगे. तो बाबूजी से नहीं, शांताराम नहीं जाएगा, तुम्हें जाके देना है. अंडे खाओगे? You know, that was the end of the topic. That is all that was said. But the lesson was huge, because we went to the owner of quality, not just returning the F, but we also decided without the F, the O was useless. So we took both. And we gave it to him and we said sorry. But that lesson, that you are responsible for your actions, and if you got them wrong, you have to face up to those actions, has forever remained. Beta, Shantaram nahi, tum jaoge. When Narendra was talking about responsibility, this was the thought which came into my mind. कि जिम्मेदारी यही नहीं कि मैं जो भी काम है वो जिम्मेदारी से कर रहा हूँ. मैं यंगस्टर हूँ, मैं गलतियाँ भी करता हूँ, बदमाशी भी करता हूँ, शरारत भी करता हूँ, सब करता हूँ. जो भी करता हूँ उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस की भी जिम्मेदारी मेरी है. अच्छा हुआ चाहे बुरा हुआ, उसकी जिम्मेदारी भी मेरी है. ये समझ बहुत जरूरी बच्चे के दिमाग में. Whatever be the age, you know, it is critical that children understand this. But because sometimes we are so protective of our children, we believe they can't take responsibility. ये कैसे काम दे दो बारात के सामान को गिनने का? बच्चे से थोड़ी होगा. The child actually is able to do a hell of a lot more than we parents give them credit for. If we were to just allow the children, thrust responsibility on them, go buy me a car, क्या बिगड़ता क्या? He would have spent a little more. That's the cost of education. He would have bought the wrong car. I trusted his judgment. He knows what a good car is. So that wasn't a risk. All it was maybe he'd pay 1%, 2% more than he should have paid. He actually got it cheaper than I was expecting he would get it. It took him a week longer to negotiate it, but that was fine. I was standing in the background. Let's see what the outcome is. And the same applies when you get into business. When you get into a job, you delegate a job to somebody, surely they can't do it as well as you can. But till you let them do it, they're not going to learn, they're not going to take that responsibility. And without that responsibility, something big is missing in life. The last thing I'd like to say is learning is never punctual. What I mean by that is a lesson delivered today, I've learned it and I can use it, not going to happen, doesn't happen in life. What Professor Chakranarayan said to me that day in the meeting, which finished by, "Is that all, sir?" was not a lesson I learned instantly. It's a lesson I'm continuing to learn. What did it mean? When Bauji said, "Ande khaoge, F lota dena," was a lesson which didn't strike me at that time. At that time, there was an intense, क्या बोलते हैं वो, fear भी था, shame भी था, anger भी था, disappointment, सभी तरह के emotions थे उस समय तो. और उसके अंदर जो छुपी हुई मैसेज थी, वो तो जीवन में बहुत बाद में पता पड़ी. I went to a Christian missionary school. So when we were in the 6th class or something, there was a game like catching cook, pakadam pakadai jisko bolte hain, except that it involved trees. So you had to be climbing trees and you had to, whoever was, it had to tap somebody who was up on a tree. Now in that process, school में एक बड़ा नीम का पेड़ था, उसकी एक बड़ी डाल टूट गई. Nobody got hurt. Well, some of us got hurt, but not badly. Again, climbing trees is an important life skill, guys. It is so much fun for a child, but how many of us encourage our children to go climb trees? Anyway, टूट गई. अब वो डाल lunch time पे ये सारा वाकया हुआ था. As children, one of the things you learn right from the very beginning is कि कोई गड़बड़ हो जाए भैया उसे किसी तरह छुपा दो, क्योंकि वो गड़बड़ डिस्कवर हो गई तो पिटते हो. गड़बड़ हुई तब नहीं पिटते हो, डिस्कवरी पे पिटते हो. अब वो इतनी बड़ी डाल थी, we couldn't hide it. It was a huge branch. We couldn't hide that branch. So presence of mind said the right thing to do is absence of body. भाग जाओ यहाँ से. भाग लिए. फिर हमारे प्रिंसिपल की आदत थी, वो अपना छतरी लेकर के 2 o'clock he just do a round of the school. As he was doing a round of the school, he reached that tree and he saw this big branch broken. So around 3 o'clock we had a recess. The 3 o'clock recess में ये खबर आई कि there is special assembly. So all of us assembled in the place where school assembly used to take place. And Father Coutinho got up on his podium and he said, "A tree has been broken." And the whole school was made to go to the tree, stand in front of the tree, head bowed, and say, "I'm sorry, tree." And all 400 of us, from kindergarten to the last senior most class in school, marched past that tree, stood there and said, "I'm sorry, tree." And that was the last 2 periods of that day. Two periods free हो गए. उस समय का तो ये लेसन था, राइट? उस समय का तो ये लेसन था, 2 पीरियड फ्री हो गए. अब जब सोचते हो आप इस चीज को, तो कितनी प्रोफाउंड मैसेज फादर कुटिनो ने हम सब बच्चों को, ये 60s की बात, आई वाज इन स्कूल इन 65, 67 की बात होगी. What a profound message and what a beautiful way in which it was delivered. Yes, trees are there and you can, and he never discouraged us of climbing those trees. हम स्कूल में ही तो खेलते थे. He would always see us कि हम पेड़ों पे चढ़ रहे हैं. He never stopped us from doing that. But when we damaged the tree, अच्छा, nor did he punish us for it. ये भी नहीं कि किसने तोड़ा क्या किया, उसकी भी जिम्मेदारी नहीं. Just go say sorry, I'm sorry, tree. तो learning not being punctual, इस चीज का मतलब हमें उस समय तो भैया नहीं समझ में आया, लेकिन बाद में आप भी मानते हो ना कि it is a very profound message, or all of us need to understand that. So learning is not punctual. So as you move through your KMM sessions and you're giving children what I call essential life skills, the 10 things you were talking about, Naren, today, they are critically essential life skills. You are facilitating the next generation. Don't worry if they don't get the message now. They will get the message in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, sometimes 30 years later. Because learning is not punctual. It's just a simple word to remember. Learning is not punctual. And experience in life is nothing but being able to recall these stories and find meaning in them sometime in the future. Thank you.
I will request him to narrate another very beautiful story he shared with us yesterday. And after that, you can again stand up and again clap. Okay? The chess.
I think it might be politically incorrect, but okay. I was new to Ferguson, and in Udaipur University, I had played for inter-university chess. I'd also played inter-university badminton. So when I came to Pune, I said, these are two immediate social activities which you can get into. I got into the college badminton team, but the university badminton team at that time was seriously good. I couldn't make it to the university badminton team. College chess selection trials were taking place. At that time, the university champion came from Ferguson College. So we played the 2, 3, 4 rounds that were there needed for the selection. So I beat the university champion, I beat the college champion, I beat the college number 3. I lost to college number 4 and I beat everybody else. When the team was announced, my name wasn't on it. Sanjay Singhal is not going to represent Ferguson College. I was hugely disappointed. Sabko to haraya, ab kya karna hai? What else do I need to do? All bar one person I have beaten. I wasn't selected. So I went and talked to the person who was responsible for sports in Ferguson College. And I said, this is unfair, ye kya hua? So he said, I will look into it, come and see me later. So I came and saw him the next day and he said, no, selection is final. I was really angry. So I went to ABC. And I said, sir, look, this is such serious injustice. So he said, so? He said, what are you going to do about it? I said, I want to complain. Kiske paas jaoge? I'll go complain to the vice principal. He says, what will he do? I'll go and complain to the principal. So what will he do? You'll get the same result as you got. You're not going to get into that chess team because that selection is fixed already. What you can do is continue to beat these guys in the common room. You are not going to play chess for Ferguson College, but common room mein harate raho inko. And fundamentally, that's where I ended up. I didn't play for Ferguson College, and therefore I couldn't probably play for the university. पर मैं कॉमन रूम में बैठा रहता था और ये लोग आते थे, मेरे को देखते थे और चले जाते थे. They didn't want to play with me because they knew I would beat them, and getting beaten was somehow not the right thing to do. Again, not learning, not being punctual. Many years later, I understood what Chakranarayan was telling me. The world is not always fair to you, right? You don't always get the results you deserve. So what? Take it in your stride, move on. You can't play for Ferguson College, doesn't matter. Continue to play and continue to show that you're better than them. And their absence from the common room was a big moral victory for me.
Thank you so much for coming here, and teaching these beautiful life lessons for all of us, and we'll remember it forever. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, before you leave, there is another very important announcement. Now, Nilesh, you can just stand on the gates, and as they leave, just collect it from them. We have a very beautiful event which is there on 1st of October, right, Rajesh? So it's a program which is called Rangathon. It's a kind of a, I can't call it a race, I cannot call it a marathon. It's a kind of, let's say, get together of people where it will involve 5 kilometers of jogging, walking, running with a lot of fun involved. The objective behind that is to create awareness of organ donation. Every year, there are thousands of people who die whose death could have been prevented if there were organ donors. And every year, enough unfortunate deaths happen where if they were aware of organ donation, these people who otherwise died wouldn't have died. One of the noblest things that anybody can do is donate their organs when they don't need it anymore. So to support this cause, we are organizing something called the Rangathon. We have a trust called Rebirth, which is executing this entire work. And I would request and appeal all of you to be a part of it so that people whose lives can be saved, we all become responsible enough and do our bit. All the best for the session. All the best in making the children inside the classroom walk a few essential steps towards success. Unfortunately, we live in a society where a lot of importance is given to people who score marks. They are given hero worship. And those who cannot score marks, who can excel in many aspects of life, are looked down upon. Therefore, it beats their self-confidence. Now, when we take this session properly, any child inside the class will believe that each one of these 10 points can be implemented by them in life. You don't need tremendous talent. You don't need tremendous smartness. You just need common sense to implement all these 10 points. Which means when we take this session well, what you're going to do is, you are going to enable the children inside the classroom who for some reason don't believe in themselves to start believing in themselves. Years to come, they will look back at this session, thank you, and most importantly, pray for you. So all the best in taking this session and all the best in living by this session.